VR would seem to be the perfect technology for language learning. The ability to immerse people in real-life scenarios where they can interact with either computer-generated characters or real-life people. The fact that you can communicate via an avatar must also be a benefit in helping to reduce the natural anxiety we have when speaking a foreign language. Yet surprisingly, there are hardly any apps or games in VR for it. Compare that with mobile phone apps for language learning where there are loads. In terms of studying a language by yourself, there's only really one available commercially, and that's Mondly. This has been out for a while on different platforms, but it only recently came out on the Oculus Quest 2, which gave me a chance to check it out. As a language teacher myself, I was interested to see how good it was. Let's start with the basics. It's relatively cheap, around £8 in the UK, presumably similar elsewhere. At the beginning, you get to choose your first language and the language you want to study. The actual amount of content is fairly limited, but a bit more on that later. This means that any text or instructions explanations will be in your first language. There are two types of content, vocabulary and conversation. With vocabulary you can choose from different categories such as animals or fruit or vegetables. A female computer character then introduces them to you one by one.
Hello there. Thanks for bringing me back. Let's learn about vegetables. Which vegetable is associated with Halloween? That's right. A pumpkin. In Russian, a pumpkin is called tykva. A pumpkin. Tykva. Let's see what's next. These are carrots. To say a carrot, you say
морковь,
a carrot.
морковь.
Did you know that eating carrots will improve your vision? This is amazing.
It then gives you a chance to repeat them and for the voice recognition to check if you were right or not.
Markov.
Nice. Good pronunciation. You are good at this. Let's see. If you want to say the carrot is orange, you say
Морковь оранжевая.
It seemed reasonably accurate, though not particularly nuanced. I tried Russian and my pronunciation is pretty bad, but it still identified what I said as correct. At the end of the vocabulary group, it will give you a little quiz of the couple of items to check understanding.
Let's see if you remember how to say a potato.
Картофель. 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 Картофель.
Kartoffel.
That's correct. Good memory. Congratulations. This concludes our lesson.
Conversation is the chance to use phrases and sentences in context. It puts you in a variety of a sort of tourist-themed situations such as a taxi, hotel, train, shop, and you can practice short dialogues with AI characters. Regardless of which language you are speaking, it will put you in the same locations, so it's not as if you are in Paris when learning French or London when learning English. You're on generic train in generic taxi and shopping in generic shop. In these dialogues, you'll get translations of the different phrases said to you, and then it gives you a choice of different responses in context.
Добрый день.
Добрый день.
Again, you can use the voice recognition tool to check if you are correct or not. In some cases, you have the option to improvise. So you can add words about your job or what you want to buy, and it seems to recognize these reasonably well. Again, though, not very contextually aware. In the clothes shop, they seem fine with me buying bread, so there you go. A couple of features worth mentioning. Throughout the app, you can use the snail button feature to hear the word or phrase said much slower than normal, which can be useful at times. If you're studying a non-Latin alphabet language, as I was with Russian, you can click a button to see the phrase written in Latin script. It does also try to differentiate between levels as well, at least in the conversation parts. If you're intermediate or advanced, you can try the conversations with less support and scaffolding, although it's essentially the same content. In terms of what you can do, that's pretty much it. Now, what do I think about this app? Let's start with some positives. First off, let's give the developers credit for being the first ones out of the gate with a language learning VR app. Learning a language is an incredibly complex skill, and what people want to learn about a language and how they want to learn varies massively, and trying to accommodate that within one app is incredibly difficult, if not impossible. I think if you see this app as the VR equivalent of a tourist phrasebook, then it does an okay job. It creates some clear and obvious holiday situations, and you can actually practice saying some of the phrases you might use. It has a wide range of languages to choose from, so you can probably find the language you need if you are travelling somewhere. As I said before, the ability to slow down the speech to hear it said more clearly is a neat feature, particularly with languages that have quite different sounds and don't share the same alphabet. You'll probably learn and remember more from this than looking at some phrases on a page. Beyond that though, don't expect this to be a way into properly learning a different language or giving you extra practice if you're learning a language at school or on a course. I think the biggest issue really is that it doesn't seem to have been designed with any clear idea of how languages are learned or what vocabulary and phrases are useful. Take the vocabulary you can learn. It would make sense that the vocabulary sections introduce words that are going to be useful in the different scenarios you are put in. So if you're going to be in a taxi or train, maybe introduce words like ticket, fare, journey, inspector, destination, etc. Instead, they have rather random collections of vocab, largely based, I feel, on how visually easy it is to represent them. So we learn animal words such as elephant and lion, and space words such as the moon and the sun. Now, unless I'm planning to go to the zoo to work or go on the International Space Station, I'm not really sure how frequently I'm going to need those words. And beyond certain predetermined holiday destinations, there's not many other contexts for learning words and phrases. If you want to learn a language for socialising or for work, then there's nothing here for you really. It is a cheap app, so it might be a bit much to overly criticise it for its lack of polish or clear methodological design. As a very basic tourist phrasebook, it's not bad. Or maybe as a way of getting kids initially interested in learning a language. But I still think we're waiting for the killer VR language learning app. I think the idea of a more developed 3D world with rich environments and contexts is something that could be done, though admittedly is something that would cost a lot of money to develop and create.